Hello, I welcome you all once again to Hansraj e-Samvaad, to the last series, to the last lecture on Sudha Murty's Wise and Otherwise. In the previous several lectures, I have taken up a detailed analysis and a summary of all the various anecdotes that form a part of this book, Wise and Otherwise by Sudha Murty. We have completed till anecdote number 45. In today's lecture, I'll be taking up the chapters 46 all the way till the end of this book, Wise and Otherwise, that is the anecdote number 51. So from 46 to 51, this is the last part of this ongoing lecture series, right? Of course, in the subsequent lectures, I'll also be taking up the various detailed thematic analysis. I'll be also talking about some of the common themes that are there in this book, Wise and Otherwise. I'll also be delving into certain more aspects which will be more related to the examination point of view. Those aspects will be based from the examination point of view. So I'll be discussing that also. So it's good to see you once again. Thank you everyone for joining in. My name is Piyush Chaudhary, and here we go on now to the last part of Wise and Otherwise. So story number 46. Let's talk about story number 46. It is titled Treat Me as a Human. In this anecdote, Sudha Murty is basically trying to say that people should not look at her as a donor. Rather, people should look at her as a human being. Because several times Sudha Murty has told us that people have treated her in very weird manners. If she is not able to give them the money, if she is not willing to donate a particular amount of money, people treat her with animosity, people treat her with hatred, people treat her very coldly, which is very strange, right? So this is one of the, this is the main topic of this particular story, Treat Me as a Human. She says that nowadays gifts, giving gifts to everyone has become such a status symbol that people, so what she does is that she gives us an example of a party which she visits, a lavish party of extremely upper class people, of extremely rich and extremely well off people, and there people are coming to wish the birthday of a small infant, of a young infant, and they are giving the young kid very weird gifts, like they are giving them computers, they are giving the kid gold chains, they are giving the kid cash, they are giving them several other expensive materials. But can a child use all of this? So this makes Sudha Murty think about how giving expensive things has now become more of a social status, as it's a symbol of increased affluence in the society. And even while gifting, people do not think about how to gift and what really gift actually matters. Then later on, Sudha Murty goes to Ahmedabad, where she is she is shopping from the streets, and then she sees a shopkeeper and gives the child of the shopkeeper a small token, a small amount as a blessings. And by seeing this, the shopkeeper gets upset, and she says that they are not beggars and that Sudha Murty should not give them money. But Sudha Murty handles the situation, and she says that this small amount of money is just as a blessing to the young child, to the young kid. And then the shopkeeper says that Sudha Murty is perhaps one of the first people who have treated a shopkeeper as normal human beings. So Sudha Murty says that humans should be treated more as humans, right? And for Sudha Murty, feelings are much more important than business things. So Sudha Murty is obviously pursued by many people for her charity, but rarely anyone treats her as a human being, as someone who can give some money, as someone who can give some benefit, as someone who can donate some money. So this is wrong. Sudha Murty is trying to simply say that. That is anecdote number 46. Let me now come to anecdote number 47, which is titled Unknown Benefactor from Chennai. So one day Sudha Murty gets a letter from her office, and where she is being given a huge amount of money, several lakhs of rupees of money are being sent. So in total there was some 4 lakh rupees which were sent to her organization from an unknown person who was just living in Chennai. That's all that the letter mentioned. So Sudha Murty talks about donation which is hidden. So the idea of a Gupta Dan, the idea of Dan which is Gupt. So donation should always be given in a manner, and whenever any benefactor donates, then the idea should be to make a difference in the life rather than to make it as a personal, as a PR agency. So donation should not be considered as a way of getting recognition. So Sudha Murty talks about a woman who is extremely rich. She is she is very rich, and she does not donate money to anyone, and she donates money only on the excuse and only on the condition that the people who are getting the donation, they should give her proper honor and they should publish it in the newspapers. Only then, she will be willing to donate the money. And on the other hand, there is this unknown benefactor from Chennai who has given 4 lakh rupees. And by the way, this amount was given almost 20-30 years ago. So 4 lakh rupees is a huge amount in today's time in 2025 as the viewers are watching this lecture. So an unknown person simply donates this money to Sudha Murty and asks and writes in the letter to use it for some further cause. So this makes Sudha Murty think about the nature of donation, that how even today, in the fast-paced world, even donation has become a means of, improving one's image. So donation is something which should be done without any expectation, because if donation is being done out of some expectation, then it is not donation, it is a business proposal in fact. So Sudha Murty warns everyone and perhaps motivates all of us to do exactly that. Let us now come to the next story, which is titled Life is an Examination. So basically it talks about a husband and a wife and how they both respond to death. Both know that they are terminally ill and they might be dead very soon. But then, this is the story about Sumitra and Suresh, who were Sudha Murty's classmates, and they were very happy, they were happily married and they were extremely rich, and after some time they got to know that both of them will die very soon due to some disease, and then they don't have a lot of time to live. What happens is that Suresh wants to give all his money to Sudha Murty and to other purposes for donation. However, there are other people like Suresh's own wife Sumitra, who just keeps spending lavish amount of money on her own self, right? So the money, the husband in this case donates the money in the wife's name, and the woman, rather, that is Sumitra, she lived her life very differently and Suresh lived his life own very differently. So therefore, in just one family there are two different kinds of people. Sudha Murty is trying to say that one must do good deeds and one must do philanthropy. Both husband and the wife, they knew that they were terminally ill, but they both acted very differently. The wife wanted to enjoy the money, to throw lavish parties, but the husband knew that he will die very soon and it's better to donate the money. So basically Sudha Murty says that life is an examination and you do not know the question paper. So definitely it's gonna be difficult. So life has to be lived with dignity. It's on us how we write the answers. Let us now come to story number 49, which is titled My Money, Your Money. This is anecdote number 49, chapter number 49. It talks about the illusions that money can give. It talks about the side effect of the rags to riches phenomena, how some people get rich very quickly and then they forget how to be, how to be humble. So it also shows that quick money can harm us and can be very dangerous. So basically the story is about financial literacy and the ability to be grounded even when you are extremely rich. So even when one gets rich, this is a story about Ashok and Anita, who were both former students of Sudha Murty and both opted for teaching. But Anita realized that teaching is not a lucrative job and therefore she wanted to earn money. So she left teaching, she got into share market, she got into private business, and then she earned a huge amount of money, and then she started living in a very lavish manner, and she ignored her husband. Her husband, on the other hand, was still a teacher. He was happy being a teacher because he knew that the purpose of a teacher is not perhaps to earn money. Everyone needs money for sustenance, but the main and the sole purpose of a teacher is not to earn money, but rather to serve the society in a selfless manner. That is the idea, right? So the husband realizes this, but the woman does not. Ashok realizes this. Ashok was content with his teaching job, but Anita was not, and therefore this created rifts between the two, and both the husband and the wife, they were not having a very good relationship later on. So this is the problem that money gives us. Money can make us feel delusional. Now look at these lines that I am showing to you on the screen, where Sudha Murty says, and she says, money is a double-edged knife that can be used to cut a fruit and also to kill a person. It is important to earn money, but how you handle it is much more important, unquote. So the lines that you just now saw on the screen talks about, in a way, what is the key theme of these lines? It's financial literacy. So you must know how to handle money, and one must always be grounded. This is also a part of financial literacy. Just earning money and ways to invest and ways to save taxes, not just a fundamental of financial literacy. One of the key fundamentals of financial literacy is also to remain grounded even when you are extremely rich, and to use money in the right way, in the right direction, and in a progressive direction. So that is what comprises the idea of financial literacy. Right? So Sudha Murty says that success and money, which comes very quickly, can evaporate very quickly, and success and money, if it comes easily, and success and money, if it comes slowly, and if it comes with certain strength of character, then it is there to stay forever. Right? So this is the story. Now the second last chapter number 50, which is titled Is Life Fair? So this is a story about the prejudices that people have about mental health. So Sudha Murty says that mental health is absolutely, it's one of the most important elements in the 21st century, and now so more and more recognition is being given to mental health. But curing mental health has never been easy, and it will never be easy again, right? So we have to be very sensitive towards those people who feel mentally upset or who are mental health patients and who need support or who need counseling, right? So she talks about, Sudha Murty talks about a woman named Maya who was facing depression due to certain problems in her family due to her husband and her mother-in-law, but then she was simply branded as a mental patient, so such insensitivity. However, her own husband, Maya's husband, he was himself a principal of a college, but despite being a reputed person in the society, his own wife was a mental health patient. So life has been unfair with Maya. Rather, her own husband Jagdish, who was a bad person and he does nothing to save his own wife at her own home, is simply not punished for the problems that his wife has been going through. So is life fair? That is the question that Sudha Murty is asking. So the author Sudha Murty is trying to tell us how mental illness is underrated and that people do not give adequate attention to it, and that life is often not fair with people who face problems. Sudha Murty also towards the end tells us that life is always unfair, perhaps it is almost always unfair, but it is onto us how we treat it. If we want, we can make it fair. So these are the last words, and the last words of the story give us a ray of hope perhaps, and that is something which is also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, that problems will obviously come and they will go, but then one must take the right action at the right time, right? So this is the idea. So therefore, if anyone of us goes through some mental block, some mental pressure or some mental breakdown, or is having some really bad thoughts, then one must not shy away from asking for help. And also we as students of literature, we as young people, the viewers watching this, I am talking to you, all of you, we have to be very sensitive about these things, because this is what makes us responsible citizens of India. And as students of Hansraj, as students of one of the premier institutions, as students of University of Delhi, which is one of the central, one of the most it's one of the most eminent universities, all of us have to be extremely sensitive towards towards mental health issues, and only then we can aim to develop into a Viksit Bharat by 2047, which is our aim, right? So only then this will happen, if India is mentally healthy and mentally wise and mentally sane, right? So that is the idea. Let's now come to the final chapter, the last chapter of this book, and the book will end here. That is titled Three Bright Young Men. So this story, Three Bright Young Men, opens with Sudha Murty, who was invited as a chief guest at a function, and there she gets to know that there are three poor students, one from science field, one from commerce field, and one from medical field, who has done exceptionally well. And so the first student is from medical field, the second one is from the engineering field, and the third one is in the commerce stream. So what she does is she offers, these are very poor students and they don't have money, but they have been doing good in their school. So she offers to give what you can say financial assistance to these students from their higher education, for their higher education. So later on what happens is, after several years, she meets the first boy, and here the young boy returns the money that Sudha Murty earlier gave on, so for his education. So that was a really warm gesture, a very kind gesture by someone who who was helped by Sudha Murty. So this is the very first bright young man that she mentions in the title of the story. Then after some time she goes to visit a doctor, and then she gets to see the second student whose education she had funded, she had sponsored several years ago. But contrary to the first man, to the first bright young man, this man, that is the doctor, he takes extra money because she came without an appointment. So the huge difference between two young men, and both these young men were helped by Sudha Murty, and Sudha Murty is simply amazed. She is shocked to know that how can the different attitude of both these young men who were really successful in life, and in their lives Sudha Murty played a vital role, right, in funding their education. Otherwise they would never have been able to become an engineer or a doctor, or to do well, unless so these three men were helped by Sudha Murty. But this does not upset Sudha Murty. Sudha Murty is again not looking for any validation, or not looking, but she thinks and these are the lines, and this will allow us to understand what Sudha Murty is thinking. She says, and she talks about the two boys, she says, and I'm quoting, I had helped 3 people at the same time without expecting anything in return, but their attitudes were so different. One person felt grateful for my help and wanted to help others in a similar manner. The other didn't even mention the help he had received from me and felt neither grateful for it nor obliged to me. He treated me exactly as he would have treated a perfect stranger. When people with different ideas face the same situation, they act differently. I am yet to meet the third one who is in the USA. Unquote. So this is a story. This is a story about how Sudha Murty helped two different young boys by funding their education, and how the two different young boys later on became highly successful in their careers, but they both treated her very differently. One treated her as a stranger, as a normal patient, showing no signs of gratitude, no signs of respect, no signs of special consideration. And on the other hand, you have one person who has given the money, and he also wrote a thank you note to Sudha Murty because she had played a vital role in his life as a successful professional in the future, right? So Sudha Murty is not upset, and she's not saying that she is not going to help anyone, but she is simply thinking and observing people. And perhaps in these entire 51 anecdotes, we are at the end of the lecture now, in the end of the book, in these entire 51 anecdotes, there have been so many instances when Sudha Murty was not given the due recognition, but this even inspired her to work more, because she was not helping people, not providing charity for some recognition, but rather to make a difference in the world. So Sudha Murty was not expecting any help or any discounts from the doctor, but at least the young doctor could have acknowledged the help Sudha Murty gave to him, and because of which he has become a doctor. So despite the setbacks, Sudha Murty has always been helping and giving and donating and performing charity without any return. But she clearly mentions how the young boy who was now a successful doctor did not even feel grateful for the help. So this proves the theory that no two fingers are alike. So we have different people at different points of time. This is the larger idea of this GE, life and literature, where we see that there are different aspects of life, there are n number of people, there are different sorts of people in this world. So that brings me to the end of this long lecture series on Sudha Murty's Wise and Otherwise. In multiples of 5, I have taken around 10 lectures, and in each lecture I have, in multiples of 5, I have dealt all the various 51 short stories, short anecdotes. Some show the positive aspects of life, some show the negative aspects of life, and Sudha Murty is here to tell us, to describe what life actually means. So thank you so much. It was great to be with all of you, and in the subsequent lectures I'll be taking up a few more lectures on some thematic analysis of this book, Wise and Otherwise. So you can keep commenting, you can keep sharing these videos with everyone, and I hope to see you soon in some other topic, perhaps on some other day, on some other topic. I'll be definitely making more such lectures in the near future as well. It was great to see you. It was great to have you in these long lectures. Thank you so much. All the best for your exams. Do well. Jai Hind.